Yeah.
Got him.
Got him.
Got him. Where are we then, Stephen? What are we doing today then?
We're at a local reservoir,
Yeah.
which is full. A few people will recognise it. I'm not going to say where it is, but it's full of silverfish, skimmers and roach. So I'm going to give you a few tips for fishing this type of venue.
Oh,
That's a skimmer, as long as the pike doesn't eat it. Just going to talk about, obviously, if I can get my net, rigs, feeding, hooks, hook baits, all the little things that can catch you a few extra fish on big natural venues.
lovely. Nice skimmer, isn't it?
So we'll pop him back and I'll talk to you about where we're fishing and why. The biggest issue a lot of anglers have on massive natural waters is where do you fish? Now, prior knowledge is a massive advantage. I fish this venue a lot, but depth is the key. What I'll say is deep water, bigger fish, shallow water, smaller fish. So like today, we're on a point. Now points on any reservoir tend to be quite shallow. So you stick out further, so you don't have to cast as far possibly, but depth-wise, it's going to be shallower. So I've had a plumb around today on a 1 ounce bomb. At like 30 metres, it's like a 1 count. At 36 metres, it's a 2. At 50 metres, it's barely a 3. So it's a very slow, the bottom's going away from me very slow. And I wanted to catch roach today. Roach, and I know we'll get some skimmers in amongst them. We've just kicked off with a skimmer, obviously. But I've come here to catch, there's some cracking roach in here, some of them are £1 plus. And if you go into the deep water, so if I'd shot like 60 metres today, I'd be in like a 3.5, 4 count. I'm pretty much skimmer fishing. Whereas if I fish at 36 in a 2 count, I'm going to get hopefully roach and a few skimmers in amongst them. So the depth to a degree dictates what you're going to catch. If I come into a 1 count, it's a really bright, hot, sunny day. Unless the whole reservoir's a 1 count, I'm not going to catch there. So going into a 2 count, I reckon a 2 count at 36 metres is, I'd say,
7 foot?
a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
8 to 10 foot. You know what I mean? And people will say, oh, how do you work it out? It's just, you can't say an ounce bomb, 1 foot, 3 foot every 1 second. It doesn't work like that. You just get a feel for it. There's too many variables like distance.
Which bomb is it you use for this sort of thing?
I use, is it that one? Yeah. It's 1.1 ounce.
Oh, yeah?
What I will say as well is, an Arsie bomb, as I call that like the old Arsie type, being really old, that sinks quicker than a square.
Yeah.
But whatever bomb you decide to use for plumbing up, as long as you're consistent and use the same bomb all the time, you're never going to have an issue. So if I was chucking further, or like say if I wanted to plumb up 60, 70 metres, I'd use 1.5 ounces. I can get a better feel with 1.5 ounces, and it straightens my braid better. So I will change bomb obviously if it's deeper, but because I know it's not going to be massively deep here, I plumbed it with 1 ounce. Sometimes what I do then is just clip on a 2 ounce.
A big lead, that.
Yeah, the reason I do, once I've decided on the depth, and just drag it. You know what I mean? 1 ounce bomb, because it's quite light, doesn't necessarily give me a great feel of what I'm fishing on.
Yeah.
Whereas a 2 ounce bomb, I'm fishing braid direct, which I'll talk to you about later. When I'm fishing with a 2 ounce bomb, if I drag it along nice and smooth, I can get a feel for whether it's bouncing.
Is that when it's like on gravel? Is
Yeah,
it?
when it's on gravel, it might be on a big bed of zebra mussels, or just get a feel of what I'm fishing on. What I want is something quite fine. I don't like to think I'm fishing on like a load of rocks or a load of zebra mussels. So I'm not going to get what I call a really smooth drag, but the smoother the drag, the better. What I don't want is the tip like just getting stuck, then moving, getting stuck. That suggests I'm fishing on quite big stone. If you're getting a very fine tap, 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 that suggests it's very fine gravel, and I'm quite happy to fish on that.
Talk us through baiting up then, Steve. What gear do you use for this sort of game?
Right. Because I'm fishing for silvers on here, as in I'm not bream fishing. If I was bream fishing, I'd be thinking, I'm going to put an avalanche, so to speak, maybe 12, 15 of the 7 old guru bait ups in at the start, big bed of bait, and then fish over top of it. But today, I want to get bites. There's loads of quality silvers, so I don't need to put loads in. So talking through the setup, I've got a 12-foot exchange bait up rod. A specialised bait up rod for me is a real advantage. It means I can put like 3 or 4 in at the start, but then let's say 2 hours in it starts to die, just pick up the rod again, put 3 or 4 more in. And the beauty of this rod is it's got loads of power, so it makes baiting up easy. You know, whether it's at 36 metres like today or 80 metres as it can be on other venues, It's also specifically designed for baiting up, so it's got anti-frap guides. It's also got a very fast tip speed, and what that means is it allows me to empty the feeder nice and clean. When I'm baiting up, what I don't want to be doing is, if the rod's too soft, when you sort of give it that motion and try to empty the feeder, you can be dragging bait over quite a big area. Because this has got such a fast tip speed, and also the exchange bait ups are tapered in design, so they're slightly narrower at the top and obviously
Wider at the bottom.
Yeah. So between the two, I'm getting very accurate baiting, which is really important because I want to know, it's a massive expanse of water. I don't want bait all over the place. So setup itself, got a mini big pit type reel. Then I've got the exchange bait up braid. Braid makes casting easy. It makes emptying the feeder easy because there's no stretch. So I can be more accurate because it's low diameter and it flies off the rings. But also when emptying the feeder again, because there's no stretch in it, it just gives me that like nice and clean bait up. So baiting it with 7-hole, which 7 or 6-hole, it's personal preference. Obviously today I'm only going to put 3 or 4 in. So what I'll do, literally just mixed a load of particles through the mix.
All sorts in there, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm using a real, because I'm thinking roach, I'm using a really dry mix. There's a bit of crushed hemp in there. I want a really active mix, get them roach sort of buzzing around up in the water. I know skimmers are going to, it sounds daft, but one of the problems with this reservoir is skimmers.
Yeah.
The roach are amazing, but the skimmers tend to bully them out. So
Big roach, aren't they?
yeah, so I'm going to try and use a really active mix.
What weight is it using on that feeder as well,
It
Royce?
is 30 gram, 36 metres, 30 gram. If it was a little bit windier, I'd maybe go to 40 and just to try and be a bit more accurate. But literally I'm going to put 4 in. So obviously I picked a marker, which is a nice blue flag. So let that one hit. I'm going to let it get down. It's not down yet, just watch the braid. It's down now. Give it like 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just wind onto it. Tighten up that handle a little bit. Wind onto it so I can feel it, and then it's nice and quick. And you can actually feel the bait pop out the feeder.
Nice quick yank.
Yeah. Quick, but like short.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like 3 or 4 quick movements. Literally, I've got a few micros, a few casters, a little bit of chopped corn. I've got some worms, but I haven't put any in mainly because I don't think I'm going to need them as such. So let this one hit the bottom. There you go, it just hit the bottom. You can see the braid fall back. Just wind on, and then it's, as soon as you feel the weight of the feeder, 3 or 4 quick pulls, and literally you can feel the feeder emptying. Because the mix is quite dry as well.
Comes out a lot easier, doesn't it?
Comes out nice and easy, and also I feel like it's working back up in the water.
Flicks itself up sort of thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to put 1 more in on the deck, and then I'll talk to you about how plugging nice and hard with these. But I don't mind if a bit of bait comes off on the surface. I mean, I'm a massive believer that roach in particular spend most of well, and I think any fish in big natural waters, they're off bottom.
Yeah.
So you've got to try and drag them down, so to speak. So just putting a load of bait on the bottom and leaving it, they're probably not going to find it. So the last one,
One final feeder.
I've plugged slightly looser, and what I'm going to do, because it's only like 8 to 10 foot, I'm going to let it hit, go 1, 2, and empty it. So it's emptying, I reckon, literally like
Just past halfway.
around halfway.
Yeah, yeah.
If it was shallow, I'd empty it on the surface. And the idea with the last one is, I get a better, because when you empty them on the deck, you're getting quite a tight package of bait. When you empty them up in the water, it's a bit like spodding for carp anglers. The bait cascades, so it spreads out more. So I'm baiting a slight cascade.
Yeah.
So I'm baiting a slightly bigger area, but at the same time, visibility-wise, them roach could be darting around, skimmers, whatever, see the bait falling, come into the cloud and follow it down. So, but during a session when I'm doing this type of fishing, particularly on roach, they're very triggered by noise in big waters. So it might be I fish for 2 hours, catch a load, dies, and I put 4 more in, and it's like throwing a light switch, and they're back on the bait. So like the baiting up rod's kept there all day, and in 5 hours I might have to pick it up 3 or 4 times to like reignite the swim. But that's the beauty of having a specialised rod, rather than having to clip it onto my fishing rod, which isn't quite perfect for the job. I can literally pick that up, put 3 in, draw the fish back in with that little bit of extra noise, start catching again.
Go on then, Steve, let's get fishing again. What's the plan then? What are you up to?
Because we're trying to catch roach and trying to avoid the skimmer,
Yeah.
got 3 floating maggots.
Okay.
On
How
the hook.
have you made them floating?
Literally poured a bit of fizzy pop, literally put a few in there with the lid, a cut down lid,
Yeah.
'cause otherwise they'll crawl out. Put a bit of fizzy pop in, just enough to cover them, and then left them like 45 minutes, and they take on the fizz, so to speak. So
Interesting, that, isn't it? So what's happened to the maggots? Will fall a little bit slower, will they?
they fall a little bit slower, yeah, and obviously hopefully give me more time to catch the roach, which are off bottom. So feeder is a medium 30 gram cage window, and literally I've got a mixture, as you can see there. Really, the groundbait's really dry for me.
Is this the same mix as what you just baited up with, is it?
Exactly the same mix. Got a few casters in here. I'll vary what I put in. As I say, I've got worms. I don't think we need them, is the honest answer.
No.
But they're there if things die or I want to change things up. So it's literally scoop through. Because the groundbait's quite dry, I'll just give it a nice push. Don't mind odd bits like sticking outside of the window that come off. For me, it's all extra attraction. Then obviously I've got my marker.
The big blue flag.
The big blue flag, perfect. Then literally while the feeder's sinking, point the rod straight at the feeder, hits the bottom, and pull it straight round, and there's a
Get a
roach
bite
on
straight away.
within about 1.1 seconds.
It wasn't even that.
No, the key is, I'll do it again and hopefully one won't take it that quick, is to get tight as quick as you can.
Yes.
Your bites, you're fishing for fish that are feeding on the drop, so to speak.
Look at that for a roach, look.
They're great stamp fish.
That's outrageous, that
I
is.
mean, that's like, there is quite a few over sort of a pound. That's like 4 to 6 ounce.
That's a gorgeous fish, that. Pristine as well, there, not a mark on it.
No, they're proper wild fish. But they're very greedy, which is like, you'd be thinking, why are you fishing such a big up bait? They seem to home in.
Big hook
It's almost like Irish style.
You've got a big hook as well there, haven't you?
Big hook, it's a size 10 pole special. You might be thinking size 10, it's a prototype.
It's a
Only the
massive
privileged few have got them. You're not one of the privileged few.
No, I'm not provisional.
So 3 floating maggots. I'll probably 2 through the top, 1 through the tail, and just repeat the process. You've got to keep busy with this style of fishing,
Yes.
because I'm looking to catch roach up in the water, so to speak. So literally point the rod down the line, opposite to what you do carping, feeder hits the bottom, pull it round, so you're on the rest nice and quick.
Nice and tight.
And then I'm tight, but I want to keep the tip quite slack. And then I'm waiting, I'm not striking at like every tiny movement. So you can see it now, just a couple of indications.
Yeah, I've seen that, like a little jag.
For me, they're the wrong fish.
They're the small ones, aren't
Yeah,
they?
there is some really tiny roach. I'm waiting for something a little bit more positive, a little bit smoother. I'm looking for that smooth bite. Oh, it's just about to hit that.
Ooh.
So that could be. That could have
Okay, I'm fried by your tip, look.
loads of fry. So sometimes it's better to wait. If you're not sure, that's a skimmer.
Yeah, it's a very slow pull round that one, weren't
but
it?
if you're not sure with bites, you know what I mean? Some people watch and think, like, why is he taking so much time to pick up? You've got to make sure they're on.
Sit on your hands, that's what you always tell me, isn't it? Sit on your hands.
It's false economy to be striking. The problem is, if you start missing loads of bites, you're having 20 times more casts, and then there's loads of bait in your swim, and you make the situation worse. So if you have to wait an extra 5 seconds just to make sure it's on, in the grand scheme of things, that's much better than missing a bite and being back out, particularly when you're having to fish a little bit further out like we are today. You know, in an ideal world, I'd like to fish a little bit closer in.
Because we're fishing on the point, like you said earlier, we're fishing on the point. It's really shallow here, isn't it?
Yeah, very shallow, yeah.
It's a nice fish, that, isn't it? Oh. The red arrow, Steve.
And you've missed it.
I missed it. Oh, I couldn't get my phone quick enough. I've seen them now.
Brenda's missed the greatest cutaway of all time. Okay, on the bait front, got all the usual suspects. Obviously, dark sweet mix, bit of crushed hemp in it, really dry, as I've already spoken about. So when you throw it in, I'll throw a bit in actually.
Let's have a look.
Probably can't see. Just so it's nice and active, giving loads off, and hopefully trying to pull some roach into the swim. It's not a mix I'd use for skimmers. I know we're catching some skimmers, like the one I'm playing now.
Thank you.
Oh, it's come off. Might have been a roach. Might have been a roach actually. But yeah, nice dry dark mix. There's quite a lot of pike in here, so I've gone with a dark mix. I've got normal maggots, obviously red live, floaters, casters, which normally keep in some water.
Doing really well, to be fair.
But I'm just darkening them off. Got some worms. We haven't needed them. Then we've got 2 baits. I'll start with this one.
Interesting.
2mm micro pellets.
Yeah.
This place does get carp fished, so the roach see a lot of carp bait. You know, I mean, you can catch the roach here on fish meal, like base ground baits, but I always feel like I catch more when I come here on a sweet mix. If you're decided on a ground bait for a venue, if it gets carpfish, the chances are, particularly for the bream, fish meal groundbait will be king. But for roach, like we were trying to catch today, with some skimmers obviously, sweet mix, bit of crushed em, nice and active. But because I know that carp get fished for in here, and obviously quite a few pellets go in, etc., I'm quite happy to feed a few 2mm micros. And another bait that roach love is sweet corn. All I've done though...
It's not just ordinary sweet corn, that, is it?
No, all I've done, if it came out like in a tin, you'd be fairly disappointed, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Is I've got a tin of sweet corn and what I call zippered it. So put it in a chopper, zippered it, so like, just gives a bit of colour. Like when you mix it in there, bit of colour, bit of attraction.
Makes it smaller grains as well, really, when you think about it. It's like smaller particles. When you're fishing for smaller fish like roach and stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes when I'm trying to catch like a really big roach or just trying to wait for a better fish, just sticking a grain on or a little bit of corn gets you one. It's just a bit of colour. The water's really clear. The fish see sweet corn, and I think by zippering it, you're just making it more appealing. It's something I do quite a lot on natural venues, just zipper it up and that, just literally pick a pinch up every now and again, flick it in the mix, and as you can see there, just gives a little fleck of colour, a little bit something visual, and also helps, I think, with better stamp of fish. You know, and then it gives you another hook bait. Like I say, I can just pick a bit out there, put it on. You know, sometimes you get a big roach on it, other times you'll get a bream on it. But if you want to sit, it gives me another option. And I always feel like whole grains of corn have quite limited appeal, whereas once it's sort of chopped up like that, zippered as I like to call it, pretty much roach love it. You know what I mean? I think corn's actually an underrated roach bait. But skimmers love it too. So if I was coming here skimmer fishing, or something I used to use a lot at Bow Beach, zippered corn, just a great bait. I'm going to say everything eats it. That's not true. The fish you want to catch eat it, which is the important part. Rigs are personal preference, but over the years, I don't think for roach fishing you can beat a running rig. And the reason I think that is, I think you hit more bites because you're more direct. And the bites are totally different. If you fish a helicopter rig for roach, you'll find the bites are very rattly, and that you find them quite hard to hit. Whereas with a running rig, fish slack, I think because the fish isn't feeling the weight of the feeder, the bites are much smoother. You miss less. I think you lose less on the way in. So for me, it's a running rig all the way. Got a little prototype link. Nice little guru prototype, which you shouldn't be seeing, but Mr. Rooney said it was allowed.
Oh, thank you, Reams.
And then obviously feeder choice. Depends on the situation. That's a medium 30 gram window, but I will chop and change. Like I might drop down to the small depending on how bites are coming, or I might go to a large. That's a medium. If I've got a lot, might go to a large, obviously with a little bit less weight on it, depending on what I'm doing. And again, sometimes if noise is key, the big exchange. So like it's very rare I'd ever fish one feeder back to back. You know what I mean? So it's very rare you start a match on like a medium 30 gram window and then finish on it. So I might have an hour on it, then I think things aren't quite right, so I might try and put the big exchange on to pull some fish in, or I might pick the bait up rod on, or I might feel the splash of the feeders spooking the fish. So I might need to just have 3 or 4 quick chucks on a little one to nick a few fish.
Tiny, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about chopping and changing and trying to keep fish coming. So, you know, I've got a variety of different feeders, but they've all got a purpose. You know, window for me is my go-to. They cast really well. Great if you hook under your foot plate as well, like I just have. They cast really well, sink fast, which is important when speed fishing, and I love what I call like a true cage design. So you're giving, I think it's really important, even in deep water, that you lose a little bit of bait on the way down, because that's how you attract fish into your swim. So I've got braid direct. I've actually got a braided leader on this. What I'd say is braid direct up to sort of 30, maybe 30 metres I'll fish it direct. So like I wouldn't bother with a braided leader. But on big natural reservoirs where I might want to fish a bit further out, you've got zebra mussels, rocks, etc. There's a lot going on. So I've got a braided leader on. Again, it's a prototype material that I am testing at the moment for abrasion resistance, how it sinks, etc. So braided leader, which is 0.18 diameter for those interested. But it's a prototype which obviously, if it keeps performing well, you'll see sometime next year.
You're like our little hamster, aren't you? You're always testing that little thing.
I like testing. And obviously big natural venues are a great testing ground because they're fairly brutal on your kit.
Yeah.
So got my braided leader, then I've whipped in, I reckon, what do you reckon that is? 6 inch? 7 inch?
Yeah, it gotta be, yeah.
7 inches of 022 pure fluorocarbon from a boom, single strand. I've gone away from the twizzle. I found the twizzle loop used to tangle a lot, particularly with light hook baits. So I've got my running feeder link that literally rests on the knot. I've tied that in with a 4-turn water knot.
Lovely.
Then-
Lovely and small loop, that, isn't it?
Yeah, and then I've got literally 7 inches of 022 pure fluorocarbon, and then I literally have a loop at the end, and I attach my hook length by loop to loop. So hook length, because I know this venue, I've started on 65 and I've had a few at 30, you know what I mean? But it's a case of, always start long hook length, because you can always shorten it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you might catch a few roach early on the drop, and then when the skimmers move in, you might end up on a shorter hook length. Hook choice, you're fishing for wild fish. You know what I mean? If you're on somewhere, if you're in Ireland or you're on a big reservoir, there's no place for like fine lines and size 18 hooks. So
Yeah.
it's 10s and 12s hooks. I love a pole
Ridiculous.
special or match special, both brilliant wild water hooks. Obviously the pole specials aren't out yet, but they will be soon, and they are absolutely awesome. That's all I can say for roach fishing. And then like 016 pure fluorocarbon.
Yeah.
I think, again, fluorocarbon is less visible, but also it's very abrasion resistant. And when you're fishing on this sort of venue where there is zebra mussels, there is rocks, it's not a perfectly smooth bottom. I just think fluorocarbon gives me an edge, as in that abrasion resistance, it lasts longer, and visibility. And also, and I didn't say this, the reason I use an 022 fluorocarbon boom is it's stiffer.
Very stiff, isn't it?
Stiff, it just kicks it out more, and obviously it stops it tangling. So, and that's the same with the hook length. 016 pure fluorocarbon hook length, nice and stiff, just helps prevent tangles, and also got the benefits, as I said, abrasion resistance and visibility. And then, like I said, even with small hook baits, big hooks, the only way a fish can tell if the hook bait is wrong is to suck it in. And when it sucked it in with a big hook, it finds it very, very hard to deal with. It's different to, like, obviously these commercials we now silverfish in winter. Those fish get fished for day in, day out, so they see it all. These fish are wild, they're on the move, they're swimming around, they're hungry. So big hooks, you're going to hit more bites and lose less fish. So it's pretty much as simple as that.
Get tip bouncing, look.
I think it might be. I've just short on the hook length. Obviously, yeah, it's a roach. Mainly because it's been skimmer after skimmer after skimmer. So I short on the hook length to catch more skimmers,
Oh,
and roach comes along. So is a good little tip. Obviously started on 65 centimetres. Drop up in back. And then roach early, which tends to be what happens here.
Yeah.
Skimmers have moved in. So I've shortened the hook length because I'm getting loads of indications. Shortening the hook length, when you're getting loads of indications, it's sort of telling me skimmers around the feeder. So I don't want my hook bait to be far away. So I've just shortened it down to 30 centimetres and caught a roach first chuck, which was exactly what I was looking for. Said no one ever. But if you're getting loads of signs and not many bites, etc., rather than just sitting there thinking, well, I'll have it in a minute, if you're getting signs and no bites, chances are it's because your hook bait's too far away from the feeder. So shorten your hook length and you often get an immediate response. I just didn't expect it to be from
a roach.
roach, but hopefully the roach tend to flit in and out, so I'm hoping
There's a few here.
maybe
turned up.
I'll have another run of them. If the skimmers stay on the spot, sometimes to get the roach back you can come a little bit shorter, because the skimmers are reluctant to come. Going back to what I said at the start about depth, that might be a roach, you know.
Oh, I think it is. See the old head nodding?
Yeah, which is amazing when you consider how many skimmers have been there, and then equally I've shortened the hook length, because in my head the roach were feeding on every roach I've had has been really quick. Well, they're still really quick, but is it a roach? Yeah, I think.
It's got to be in there.
Or is it a hybrid? Yeah, it's a roach. Cracking fish,
Look
aren't they?
at that. That is outrageous.
They're
isn't it?
absolutely pristine.
Oh, it's a nice little discordia you
Yeah, a
using.
little discordia. Sneak preview.
Sneak preview.
Sneak preview. But the stamp of them, like, we haven't had any. Well, we did have one real big one, but photographic skills meant it got back in the water before we could get a picture. But there are quite a few around the pound mark, so it'd be nice to get one of them.
I'd love to get a camera, wouldn't it?
So let's see if we can make it a
Dog roach, they're called, didn't they?
big. They're beautiful roach. One of the reasons I love this place as well is I do think in the next 2 or 3 years there could be roach as big as like £2,
Bloody hell.
which is a huge. You know, even a pound roach for me, I think it's amazing. And they're beautiful looking fish. So let's see if we can make it a. Because I was missing a few bites, which is another sign. If you are missing bites, shortening the hook length. Oh, it's going to pick up on that then.
Been done, ain't you?
Yeah. He might still be there. Obviously, this is the advantage as well. I've been alternating hook baits. Like casters are a brilliant hook bait for roach.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Jeez. That pulled a bit. I don't think that's a roach, do you?
I don't think so, no.
But the problem with casters is if you've got, as soon as you get an indication, if it doesn't develop, your bait's done. Whereas with maggots, you can be a lot more patient.
You can get a few signs of it, whereas they just burst casters, don't they?
Yeah, they can just
Crunch
shell them. You know
yeah.
what I mean? 1, 2 or 3 tiny touches, which sometimes isn't enough to strike at, means your bait's done, and obviously you can't sit there. Whereas when you put 2 or 3 red maggots on, they're pretty resilient. Yeah, look, sneaky skimmer for the hat trick. But these were the fish we were catching literally one a bung.
Literally, you couldn't have your rod in quick enough, could you?
But it could just be, it was coincidence that I shortened my hook length just as a little runner roach came back into the swim. Tell you what is that? I want to pick up on that. So I wanted to pick up on that, but I haven't.
It's still going.
It's still going, yeah. And I still want to pick up on it, but I'm not seeing enough.
No.
It's still moving now, to be sure.
Not positive enough, is it?
I want it to be more positive, so I'm going to wind it up a bit more and see if it gives me something a bit more. See, it's one of them, like...
It's still going, isn't it?
Yeah, because I've got 3... If I had casters on there and I'd have struck, you've got to. But because
You'd have lost them, wouldn't
I've got 3 maggots on, I feel like I can sit and wait. And also, by the nature of the bite, I don't feel it was the right fish. If it was one of them 6-8 ounce roach, I feel like you get a lot smoother bite. So I'm getting indications again now. That's one of them, another indication. But for me, it's all about being patient, like, and just making sure. Particularly when if you're not getting many bites, it's different. So I was sure that was on.
Actually, patience is so important, isn't it?
Yes.
It's so important. You'd have struck it then, and you wouldn't have.
Yeah, and then some people will say, "Oh, I could have caught that fish twice as quick," but yeah, but you could have missed it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. It's like, it's the tortoise and the hare.
That's it.
Sometimes the hare starts really fast. That's a roach, isn't it? Is it a roach or a hybrid?
Roach. A roach.
The hare starts really fast, but the tortoise comes good in the end. And you know what I mean? You don't need to get a good weight. When the roach are that stamp, you can soon build one up.
Exactly.
Oh, just about a swing of that one.
What a fantastic sport this is.
Yeah, and just done something slightly different, and a great little tip, and something that works really well with a window, is to fish what we call the empty or the whistler.
Whistler?
Yeah, obviously if you chuck the feeder empty, it makes like a whistling noise in the air.
Oh, yeah.
We call it chucking the whistler. So all I'm doing is I've come a little bit shorter because it sounds daft, but the skimmers were being a right pain. So I've just had a great run of roach, like probably had 6 or 7 in as many chucks, just fishing a single caster, gone back to a longer tail, and I've come into 30 metres to try and get away into slightly shallower water to try and get away from the skimmers. And literally I've had like 4 chucks with bait, and then I've had 3 chucks without. The thing with the empty is seeing how many chucks you can have
without putting any bait in.
Yeah.
Look at that.
The beauty of a window though is it casts like a bomb. So it can't, even when it's empty, it still casts really accurately. It sinks fast as well, which is great when you're speed fishing for roach.
That was ridiculously quick.
Yeah, that's actually a little hybrid. Oh.
There you go.
I've had a few of them today. Only like 6 ounce.
Will we count that as a roach?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
same speed, got a bit of roach in it. So I've now been to the well 4 times on the empty. So I'd probably now normally put one in full of bait. But as it's been so good and so fast.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
You literally just touched your rod rest, didn't you?
Yeah. Just got a blob of slime on the hook. Even though it's solid, I can't bear to chuck out like that. So I'm going to go again on the empty. But sometimes it's a case of like, when you're speed fishing, getting in a rhythm, 1 chuck with bait, 4 chucks without. Sometimes you can't chuck without. The fish just won't you can't hold the fish enough. But obviously the empty's ridiculously fast when it's good.
As you just seen then, literally you chucked it in and literally just about touched your rod rest.
I feel like I've gone to the well.
You've gone too far over the line and you needed to put a bit of bait in then.
No, we've got a skimmer because they've moved in quick. But yeah, you can catch on the empty, you know what I mean? So like, sometimes as well you can control the swim. When you're catching really fast and getting loads of bites, you automatically just fill in the feeder every single chuck. Before you know it, you've got too much bait there. So, when you've got a lot of fish in your swim, an odd chuck on the empty just allows you to control the swim a lot better. But the skimmers have...
They come back.
yeah, they found the bait.
Well, there wasn't any there.
No, there wasn't any there, but they've moved in that little bit. Is it a skimmer? Yeah, like a two...
Weird.
Like a... I don't know, what do you reckon they are? £2? Pound and a half?
Easy. Pound and a half, isn't he?
Yeah, I reckon £2.
Lovely fishing.
Upside down, has he got it? Yeah, £2 I reckon.
Fantastic.
115.8.
115, 8 grams.
So now, obviously, I waited a little bit longer for that bite. So what I'd do now is, because I feel like it's the build-up of bait that's bringing the skimmers in. So what I'll do now, I'll stick with my single, trying to pick out the biggest casters. So when I'm looking for one, I'm looking for...
What sort of colour do you like to fish?
I always go dark, to be fair.
Do you think they just stay on a little bit better?
I think they're a bit tougher. Don't know, and fish seem to like a dark caster. What I'm going to do is, because I don't want to build up loads of bait, just plug with... There's an odd caster in there, but pretty much just ground bait. So I'm not putting loads of bait on the bottom to try and attract the skimmers. Probably get a skimmer straight away. But in my mind now, I might be able to have like one chuck like this, get a few fish in the swim again, and then 3 chucks on the empty. But if you're speed fishing, particularly in a match, the empty's that little bit quicker, providing it works, and it's often just a case of working out how many chucks you can have on an empty before you need to feed again. Because if you have too many, then you risk losing the fish to your neighbour.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you start putting bait in, aren't you? So
Yeah.
they're going to swim
So
away.
I think like normally 3 would be the limit. Obviously, I went for 5, and I think because I went for 5, I've lost the fish basically. But I've got another skimmer. Yeah, skimmer. I think like a small skimmer.
I'm going to say roach.
Yeah, you might be right.
I'm going to say roach.
You might be right. So now I'll be thinking I'm going to have 2 chucks with bait, and then go back to I think you're right, roach.
Oh, Rodney.
Yeah, no, it's a skimmer.
Oh.
I was right all along. Still great fishing though.
Fantastic.
You know what I mean? We're sitting here complaining about skimmers, but they're amazing fish to catch on a wild reservoir.
You don't miss them, do you?
You do not miss them, but I think it was fairly obvious it wasn't
A roach.
a roach. But I don't know, it might be a nice way to end.
Yeah. A big turkey would be brilliant, wouldn't it, to end
as
on?
Mikey calls them, the old turkey plates. I don't think it's a massive, probably a couple of pounds. But lovely bite.
Oh, fantastic.
Can't miss
bite.
them, can you?
No.
On bait direct as well, everything's like, I think the word is accentuated.
You've come up with some fantastic
Cracking
words
yeah.
today.
The one thing I will add here is if you're going to fish braid direct, and I highly recommend it,
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. You do need soft action rods, which is where this rod comes into its own, the 12-foot Aventa Steve Ringer.
Yeah.
It's very soft action and perfect for this type of fishing.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely perfect for the job.
Bottom lip, single caster, designed for roach. But who would be disappointed catching fish like that?